Welcome to the Screen Time Continuum. It is a wonderful day. My name is Keelan, and I am here with the fellas. Nick, how you doing today, brother?
Hey, man. Happy Wednesday. I'm doing all right. How are you?
Happy Wednesday. I didn't even think about that. I'm doing pretty well. Can't complain. Just, you know, living in Lake Town, waiting for the shakedown. At least that's what we used to say in the early 2000s when basketball was played. Hey, Mike, how you feeling over there, man?
What's basketball?
If you don't knock it off, that's how we start in this episode. What's basketball?
What is
Well, here, let me
shenanigans?
give you a background. No, I'm playing.
I'm
But
doing good.
yes, indeed. Always good to hear. Always good to hear. But yes, we're here to bring you guys a review. That's right. You know, that thing that we give you about twice a week, as often as we absolutely can. A review on the movie entitled Unfrosted. Whoa. Frosted is probably a different movie that we'll probably be reviewing at a different time and are not
No,
aware
we
of yet.
won't. No, we won't. They can look up that movie on their own time.
Right.
I stand happily corrected. Um, We are here to give you guys a review of the movie Unfrosted. Unfrosted is currently showing on Netflix. When I watched it on Netflix, it was the number one on the top 10, but I checked it today. It is the number two on the top 10 for Netflix movies. So go ahead and check that out. I know a few things about the movie, but if I'm being honest, I'm also pulling it up so that I can see a little bit more. The movie Unfrosted
Uh-oh.
is prime. What happened? What happened?
Nothing. I just said you don't know anything about the movie.
Oh,
Oh, that's starting
Did
off
you
bad.
and
did
here
you
we are
even
going to
watch it?
review it. Yeah,
Yeah.
right. I see where my issue was with that. I said that
Mm-mm.
incorrectly. Um, but to give you guys just a little bit on the movie Unfrosted, the movie Unfrosted is literally, and I do not mean figuratively, literally a movie directed by Jerry Seinfeld, written by Jerry Seinfeld, as well as Spike Ferriston and Andy Robin, starring Jerry Seinfeld and based on a Jerry Seinfeld joke about Pop Tarts. And if you've never heard the Jerry Seinfeld joke about Pop Tarts, it goes a little something like, look that up on YouTube. You'll find it. It's not hard. But as far as the other stars and other people who are in this movie, we have Isaac Bay, Jerry Seinfeld, Chris Rickett, Rachel Harris, Hugh Lawrence, Jim Gaffigan, Hugh Grant, a bunch of other people, Amy Schumer.
So many
I
other people.
mean, so many people. And honestly, every every time you get a new scene, everywhere you turn, you are going to see a face of someone that you recognize in this movie. I think the last big major character to mention or actor to mention would be Melissa McCarthy, because those four main people, Schumer, McCarthy, Seinfeld, and what was his name again? Gaffigan, Jim Gaffigan. Those are the main four people that this entire story is going to surround. The movie Unfrosted is about, or as the plot says, in 1963, Michigan business rivals Kellogg's and Post compete to create a cake that could change breakfast forever. Now, I don't think it's a cake at any point of any phase during this movie. It's more of a tart at all phases. But to be very clear about something I learned about this movie is actually based in fact, not just fact of the joke, but fact in the events. Of course, everything's embellished to a different term, but there are a lot of facts in the way that this all went down. And I thought that was very interesting. Certain things like the names, certain things like the way Kellogg's even comes up with the idea. However, before we get to all of that, before we get too deep into me explaining to you guys exactly what happens into this movie, let's get some first impressions in there from me and the fellas. Who wants to go first on their first impressions?
Oh, you chose it.
Okay.
It's your
Yeah,
fault.
it's my fault. Got it. Absolutely correct, Nick. This is my fault. And because of that, I will definitely take the reins on the first impressions. Well, I'll start with the tagline for this movie: A Pop Tart Will Rise.
Will it?
That is a great question, Mike.
No,
I
it,
don't
it's
think
a
it will.
it's a trap pop.
It is a Trat Pop. I
Trap
thought
pop.
Trap Pop was a way better name, but first impressions. Um, this movie I thought was going to give you more than
Oh, I think Keelan blew his microphone out. Anyways, I'll go with my first impressions while Keelan's working on his audio issues.
Go
Yeah,
for it.
this movie is okay, I guess. It's just basically everybody that owes a favor to Jerry Seinfeld, and maybe everybody that wants to be in comedians in cars getting coffee. I think that that's probably what's going on here.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those omnibus movies where like Keelan said, every scene is a new star, and it looks like it was fun to create, which is cool. I did find myself thinking that the first act was really dull. I think it picks up in funniness in like this towards the end of the second act into the third act. I felt myself a little bit laughing a little bit more about it and enjoying it a little bit more. But I did
What?
ask myself, yeah, I did ask myself, like, who is this made for? I don't really know. A fun fact I did read about this was that Jerry Seinfeld just made this movie without getting clearance from Kellogg's, and then he said they can sue me if they want. So okay, um,
Why
and
would they?
I mean, I don't think I think that that's kind of the point, right? It's not like he besmirched their name. He just made a comedy surrounding the brand. So I don't think that he's going to get in any trouble for that. But yeah, it's okay. I didn't necessarily think that it was hilarious, but there were points in the movie where I chuckled and laughed, and um, they were kind of few and far in between, but they were there. So I can't say that that wasn't good. I did like some of the aesthetics. Obviously, you're doing a lot of nostalgia baiting for baby boomers in this movie. Everything is 60s related, so you're getting a lot of that. And yeah, and then there's like, I probably think maybe 50 cameos in this movie. So
Wow,
that's,
is it that many?
I mean, it's got to be close to that. It's got to be close to
Easily,
that. Yeah.
It is a
easily
lot, to
50.
be fair.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
So
really
those
quick,
are my
not to
first
cut you off.
impressions. No, you're
Oh,
not.
okay. Well, you
You
already
are
got it off.
back to you, bro.
Well, I just want to say, and that's what happens when you're doing it live. You might think that it's your turn to talk, and you're getting in, and you're gonna give you a nice long example of how you feel, and boom,
Boom, mic goes out.
distracted. Something,
Yeah.
yeah, mic goes out, whatever happens, happens. But hey, so Nick just gave his first impressions. I missed a little bit of it, but you know what? It's all good.
Hmm.
My first impressions, back to that really quick. So I did enjoy this movie. It gave a lot of what the trailer tells you it's going to give you. I expected a lot more than what the trailer told us. But if you watch the trailer and like Nick said, you're into the 60s aesthetic, if you're a Seinfeld fan of any level, you're definitely going to enjoy this. But I did notice one thing. There is definitely a writer missing from the Seinfeld days. How can you tell? A little bit less laughs, just a lot of storytelling. Not that that's a bad thing, but
Some
it
less racial
definitely.
slurs too, or
Oh,
what?
way less racial slurs, but
Oh, okay.
we
Yeah.
weren't gonna, for the '60s. I mean, I you
No,
know
I
what?
was just saying, was it Kramer the missing writer?
Oh no, Kramer's nothing.
What's his name
God
again?
damn.
Michael.
Something or other.
Yeah.
It is Michael something.
Hmm.
Um, you just
Oh
threw me
well.
way off.
I know I derailed you. Sorry, bro. Go, keep going, keep going. You said that it was
Uh,
good with the 60s.
yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
The it was really good with the '60s aesthetic. To Nick's point about the lack of racial slurs, there were quite a few black characters in this, which in my opinion was just an ode to the fact that it wasn't necessarily non-existent to have a successful and or a familiar face of different cultures around, because there were a lot sprinkled into the background even at the initial award ceremony. However, there were no front players really. And that to me was big on the 60s. Because at first I was like, hey, why don't any? Oh, that's right, it's the 60s.
Oh yeah, I
It's
was
the
just making a joke
60s.
about the Kramer guy and his N-word
Yeah,
screed. Yeah,
I get that.
yeah. This is a fantasy '60s era where we don't have to sort of like, you know,
I
yeah, denigrate people for no
right.
reason.
No, absolutely. And the only reason for me it was interesting for you to say that. And what I saw was the assistant to Mr. Kellogg. I couldn't quite place her. I couldn't quite place her. She was probably the most ambiguous racial person in this entire movie. But the writer that's missing is Larry David. I always felt like, when Larry David's involved in something, you're gonna get a lot of those side laughs, but at the same time, you're gonna You're gonna laugh quite a bit.
Oh, this would be a nightmare. He would hate this. I'm sure
I
he
think
does
he
hate this.
definitely does. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
like, I think Larry David watched this, probably saw it in pre-screen and was like,
I don't
"Really,
even think he
Jerry?
watched it. I think he
Really?"
probably looked at it and said, "Nah."
I can see that. But they took a lot of jabs at a lot of the political things that were going on in the 60s around America. So that's a real
Mhm.
thing that happened in this movie. Um, Straight to the point, as I said earlier, it has a lot of reality in this, like a lot of truth and fact to what happened. So the only two things that really were a little outlandish. Bill Burr has hair. That's a really outlandish thing.
I didn't
And
even realize that was him until I saw the credits.
really, that's
Didn't
funny.
realize.
Yeah, Bill Burr has hair, and they allowed an American company owner to go and meet with a Russian official without shooting that plane down on its way back to America. Those are the two most outlandish things that happened in this entire movie. But aside from that, I did like this movie, and as a first impression, as you see, I was a little long-winded about it. So, I mean, I have a little bit to say about it, but nothing really crazy. It really played up like someone who was born and raised in that era made an hour and a half long TV episode about it, and that's what we got.
Yeah, it's boomer member berries, but that's okay.
I wonder what
Yeah.
they would call them. Maybe granola
Boomer
flakes or something.
berries.
Boomer berries. I remember.
I'll be honest with
Yeah.
you. This is probably the first time in this whole movie lifetime that I laughed.
Yeah, I believe
Ouch.
that. I believe that.
I
I
ha-
only
I
Yeah,
I
go
didn't
ahead,
laugh
Mike.
at this movie once.
Okay. I
I
there's
cracked a
one
smile.
yeah. Okay. All right.
Yeah, that's a fair point, Mike. That's actually a good way to address the comedy. It wasn't laugh comedy; it was smile comedy. Go ahead.
You know I laughed is when Snap Crackle and Pop were folding that wrapper at the funeral.
I did laugh
That
outside of
that's
that.
when I definitely laughed at that part.
I
It's
didn't.
so stupid. I know. You
I
didn't
I
laugh
don't
at
even remember the one scene that actually made me crack a smile. It was
Ah,
somewhere in the middle.
yeah.
But to be fair, it didn't come across as funny to me. Did I think
Mm.
I don't think it was a bad movie. It just I wasn't all that entertained.
I think what Mike is saying, everybody, is that someone shit in his cereal.
That's right.
Yeah. Hey.
Someone
Raisin
eating
bran.
my cornflakes.
Yes, your cornflakes. Oh, speaking of, I have a little fun fact about cornflakes coming up in this episode. Uh, we'll
What's
Baby
talk
that?
about
food.
we'll talk about Dr. Kellogg and his legacy.
Oh,
Uh-oh.
yeah. Yeah,
Mhm,
I don't have much to add to that, but I did learn quite a bit in my research about Kellogg's and Post.
mhm.
And yeah, I can see why nobody ever talked about neither of these people.
Yeah, me too.
Oh man, that sounds like that's probably where all the funny's at.
Yeah,
Yeah,
off
okay,
air.
well, yeah, sure. You can say that.
I
Until
mean,
I
to
tell
me,
you until I tell you about it, and then you're gonna be like, "Oh man, now I seem like a monster."
No, they're religious nuts. Let's start with that.
Well, yes, they're big religious nuts, and we'll just keep this going because then I can
Yeah.
make this like a little segment here. Um,
well, there
so
we go. First
yeah,
impression is it was okay.
okay, good.
I want to hear all
Uh,
this good stuff you guys got.
oh yeah. So J.H. Kellogg, which is the creator of Kellogg's, was a doctor, but also a Seventh-day Adventist, and he was extremely anti-sex. To the point where he thought pleasure was the devil. And so, uh, along with many certain, I guess, archaic and antiquated thoughts, he thought that or not castration, but circumcision for little boys was good because it taught them that they could only derive pain from that area. And he said that it should be done without anesthesia and without painkillers because it'll be a salutary effect on the mind, especially if it is connected with the idea of punishment. Um, and he was also very anti self pleasure, and
Hmm.
his philosophy was that in order to keep people from self-pleasuring themselves, the best practice was to have the most bland meals
Yep.
available.
And that's
And
how
Wow.
cornflakes was invented.
yes, and so well, it wasn't particularly just cornflakes wasn't invented just because of that, but it's his philosophy about bland food that created the cornflake. And he thought that if you ate bland food, it would keep you from pleasuring yourself because you're deriving no pleasure from the food.
Yeah.
Um,
Mike, you never heard this?
No.
Oh wow. I heard this way back in
the
like
fun history of
phase.
Kellogg's.
Why would I be knowing about a dude who created cereal? Just
That's a
randomly
fair
know
point.
that.
That's a fair point. I literally heard about that back in school days and I was like, what?
Yeah. So he started to give cornflakes out at the Battle Creek Sanitarium, which was a very popular, what they call a medical spa, but I'm sure we all know it as an insane asylum.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah. So I think his hypothesis was that those people who couldn't stop touching themselves would stop touching themselves if they ate bland foods, and of course, cornflakes is the blandest food ever created. So, yeah, fun.
Right? Who knew
Sounds like
lobotomy and circumcision went hand in hand?
yeah, and cornflakes for some reason. Sounds like a real fun guy. That's all I got to say about it.
He sounds like a
Well,
monster.
Yes, yes.
well, in the 60s, that's a hero, but yeah.
Oh no, this
Um,
is the 1870s.
oh, really?
Yeah, Kellogg. Dr. Kellogg was he was from the 1800s.
Oh,
So
geez.
Now it kind
cornflake.
of makes more sense. He was just after those Salem witch trials.
Yeah, so cornflakes were invented in 1890s.
Oh,
In the
wow. I thought it
18,
was invented
yeah,
around the 30s or something. Okay. Yeah,
nah,
I was off
nah,
with that.
even earlier. Yeah, when they used to eat sawdust and horse shit. You know,
And where
Wow.
that's all.
and wear
That's all they
russet
had.
potato right.
Yeah,
Wear russet potato sacks as a comfortable shirt.
that's right. Yeah, burlap for their shirt for their night shirts.
That's
Yeah.
how far removed we are. I forgot what it was called. Well, with that, back to the fun parts of this movie. Which again, I may have out of all the three of us, I'm almost sure I laughed the most. I think I'm the biggest Seinfeld fan on this show. But this entire movie is riddled with comedians. Like literally everywhere you turn, there's a new comedian. Most of which, in my opinion, have about the same temperature of comedy, but to comedic levels of sorts. But this movie begins in a diner with a runaway kid who meets an older gentleman who tells him he writes the comics on the back of the Pop Tarts and what he read on the Pop Tart box about how Pop Tarts came to be because a grandma or a mom wanted to have this delicious snack for her children is not true. And he begins to tell him the story of the creation of the Pop Tart. You know what the kid tells him? Make it quick. AKA, hurry up, old man. I got shit to do. But
Yeah.
we see the Kellogg versus Post War start immediately. The accidental creation of their great by the Frosted Flakes character or actor whose name is Thurl, who's also an actor of different levels. He is a thespian of the stage arts,
Played by Hugh Grant.
played by Hugh Grant. We see the Fruit Loop uh, creation, so to speak, the name of it changing from Fruit to Froot because there's no fruit in that box. And apparently at the time they were tanking. We also see Snap Crackle Pop getting very, very tired of being a grocery store sideshow. And that is really where this whole thing starts, is the understanding that this is a business of marketing, a business of media. But again, it's the 60s. So we get on to the awards, and at the awards, we see the Quaker guy, we see Mr. Kellogg, Mrs. Post. The General Mills people weren't there, were they? I don't think so.
No, no. They might have
I think
come
there was
later.
one other.
No.
They
Yeah.
were mentioned. They were mentioned. Um, and yeah, of course, Kellogg's cleans up because they have all the best products on the market, and Post is at the time taking a dive. Something I learned about the reality of what we see in this movie in regards to the Kellogg's being on top and Post taking a dive. There was really a point in time, they say, where these two companies were so close that they literally hired people to count how many train cars were going in and out of these facilities so that they can keep up with their rival. Now, if that's me, I'm sending empty cars out just to mess with you.
I'm sure there was stuff like that happening a lot. Yeah.
So it's a lot of wasted fossil fuel, but it's the 60s. Who cares? What
Yeah.
what is this?
Global
The
warming didn't
2000s?
exist yet.
Yeah, I'm like, what is this? The 2000s? We don't care about none of that.
No. They thought we were going to have a snowball Earth by the 1970s. That's true, by the way.
Yeah.
No.
The scientific consensus up until the 1980s was that the Earth was going to turn into a snowball.
Oh, wow. I don't think I knew
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. And all through the 1970s, they talked about how we only had 10 years to live, and that the Earth was going to turn into a giant snowball. We're going to hit an ice age, and everything was going to die in 10 years. Does that sound familiar? I wonder.
It sounds very
Have we heard of? Have we heard? It sounds super serial, actually.
Sorry.
Damn, that's like a triple pun right there. That's
right.
good. That's a good one, Mike. I like that.
Oh man. If you know, you know.
Mhm.
I'm like, do I know that? Have I heard of this?
Al Gore, super serial.
Super serial and his inconvenient truth about climate change. That was like a layered joke. That was mwah, Chef Boyardee kiss. That's what I gotta
Right.
say
Oh
about
man.
that.
So we'll get to Chef Boyardee in a minute, damn you.
Mhm.
But
I
let's see. So no. By all means, nothing to apologize about. These are some marvelous, marvelous things to talk about, and some just a little more entertaining than what we actually experience in this. But the next thing that happens in this movie, we see Mr. Cabana, who is the right hand man to Mr. Kellogg. And his job is to come up with all the fancy, delicious things that are marketed the way they're marketed and put on shelves out of the Kellogg name. Because, if you're the head of a company, you don't really do anything but hire somebody to do all the hard work and then criticize them when it doesn't happen. We see a lot of that in this movie.
That makes sense.
But Mr. C is on his way to work and he's kind of frowned up at the post building and he sees some dumpster diving kids. He asks the trash man what they're diving for. He tells them they're diving for goo. They dip the piece of what looks like tart in the goo. They let him taste it and his brain is blown. Or as the young lady who's the dumpster diver says, blows the back off of my head, which
You mean
is
Honey Boo Boo too? Electric Boogaloo?
yeah, actually. Who you said Electric Boogaloo?
Yeah.
The two kids' names are Kathy and Butchie. But for the record, that statement when she makes it just blew the back of my head off. That's actually a part of his Pop Tart joke.
Mm.
It's literally a line exactly from his joke. Because he says when
What's
he was
the
a kid,
deal with pop cards?
right, exactly that joke. He says when he first bit into a Pop Tart when he was a kid, it just blew the back of his head off. And yeah, it is what it is. But they find out through the media that Post is planning on releasing a fruit-filled pastry that is shelf-stable, and thus ensues the battle to become the first. Now, through all of their processing and their doings, they've discovered that Post really stole Kellogg's ideas or Mr. Cabana's idea by stealing some of his files. But the reality is they perfected it, something that he could not do with his right hand, Stan, aka Dana Stankowski, who is not one of the boys because she's not a boy, not a company man, as Mr. Kellogg says. But Bob needs Stan, and they go and get Stan. Stan's actually working at Cape Canaveral for NASA, trying to take him to the moon, making Twinkies and Tang while sitting on the NASA base. And then you discover even Stan doesn't believe that they're actually going to make it up to the moon, right? Who believes that? Anybody believe that? You don't really think you're
No,
going to the
that's why
moon,
they
do
were
you?
filming. That's why they were filming in the soundstage.
Right, exactly. And
Mhm.
that was the whole joke. I thought
How
they
dare
they
you
executed
say
that
such a
well.
thing? How dare you?
But she ends up going back to Kellogg's and they start to test new products using the dumpster kids. And I thought that was actually I'm sorry, no. Post starts to test new products using the dumpster kids because basically what she's trying to do is flip it on them and let them know like, hey, you're still in product. Do you know what copyright infringement is? And of course they do because why would Kathy not be the smartest kid you've ever met in your entire life? Diving in dumpsters and coming from a well taken care of home
Eating goo.
and eating goo.
Because
But
it's funny. It's funny. You
it's
laugh.
it's as funny as them originally naming the Pop Tart the Dingus.
Oh, yeah. Or the
Yeah,
Trap Pop.
the trap pop. Well, I I think that was
Trap
a little
Pop
more.
sounds like a mumble rap song.
It definitely.
Wow.
Yes. Yes. Nick
Trap
gets
Pop.
it.
Drop top. Blop blop.
Hey. Now that sounds like copyright infringement right there. I think I've heard that
Got
song
him.
already. I think I have heard that song already.
You might have.
But
You might have.
um, but no, absolutely. This whole thing comes down to they get Stan back. Stan is again not a company man because she's not a man at all, but she brings in an entire new team. That team is comprised of Tom Carvel, who is the ice cream genius, the guy who created soft serve, Steve Schwinn, the guy who makes the bicycles, um, the inventor of the sea monkeys, Harold von Braunhut,
Warner
um,
von Braun.
Warner von Braun. Is that his real name?
Well, no, that's who they based it off of. Werner von
Ah,
Braun, the high-ranking Nazi that we brought to start NASA.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's, and he even gets questioned about that, and he's like, just deflects. They just deflect.
Let's move along.
Hmm.
Chef Boyardee, and of course Jack LaLanne. Oh wait, I have it written down here. And the Univac machine or computer that IBM created, but apparently it's too smart of a machine for IBM. They couldn't handle it, so they had to give it to somebody to use to create snacks for kids.
Because it's inappropriate.
Is that what?
Yeah, it's inappropriate. It says inappropriate things.
Oh,
Hmm.
okay. I thought you knew something about the real world. I thought we were sprinkling
Nah,
this whole thing in with real world facts that we didn't know.
nah.
That's funny, and it is inappropriate, but in a funny way. In today's world, it wouldn't be inappropriate. It'd just be funny. But either way, so this whole thing comes around, and Jack LaLanne even says that they're inventing high fructose corn syrup, which I thought was absolutely hilarious because it's healthier than sugar.
I found that to be amusing for sure.
Yes,
Oh,
indeed.
that's definitely true. I mean, that's exactly why high fructose corn syrup was invented. Not to mention that it's cheaper than sugar, but
It's definitely cheaper.
they also marketed it as more healthy than sugar, which then they
They
had
should have kept us on sugar.
all those lovely doctor commercials that talked about eat your high fructose corn syrup. It's filled with essential amino acids and vitamin blah blah blah. You know
Hey
what I
Nick, I'm
mean?
starting to think you were raised in the '60s because I've never heard that a day in my life.
Oh yeah,
Vitamin
man.
measurements.
Vitamin and vegement. Yeah. No,
Vitamin.
no, no. When high fructose corn syrup was when they food switched from sugar to high fructose corn syrup, they definitely hired scientists and doctors to push out research that it was healthier and better for you than sugar.
The things you learn while
Oh
potty.
yeah. But the fact is that's just cheaper to produce, and then you don't have to have you don't have to have the El Sucres of the world.
El Sucre was funny. I
Yeah.
thought he was a worthy addition to this whole storyline. But so after they do that, what they see the milkman in the back, which scares the heebie-jeebus out of Mr. Kellogg's because he knows that the milkman would not like a breakfast snack made or a breakfast food made that doesn't need milk, which I realized, and it was actually brought to my attention a little bit later, that the way that they get the milkmen back on board, even though this is called unfrosted, I guess would be, I'm not going to say it again, but when they create the frosting for the Pop Tart, the
Mm.
frosting is sugar and milk, isn't it?
You would hope
No,
so.
I mean, yeah, I mean, that's how you make
there's
frosting. You
no
know what I'm
milk
saying? Sorry.
involved in frosting.
No,
Mm-mm.
I wouldn't
Just
know. I'm,
cooked sugar.
oh, okay. Well, I stand corrected. Here I am thinking they involved the milk people at some point, but they didn't. In fact, they used the president to get them off his back. But there's a five family secret meeting. I mean, they go meet El Sucre over in Puerto Rico. And yeah, they move forward. The dumpster kids invent
All
Rice
these scenes move
Krispies.
by so fast that it's
Yeah,
almost inconsequential to the storyline.
it's a television show. Like honestly,
Yeah.
guys, this is a television show. Again, it's a good television show. I'm not complaining. I personally thought it was pretty entertaining. But at the end of the day, this is a television episode more so than a movie. The way the information floods out at you, the way the jokes come out, the way everything just kind of moves very fast paced, it's almost impossible for you to view this as a movie aside from the hour and a half runtime, which if you are in today's world and you stream shows, you spend an hour and a half watching TV shows either way.
Yeah.
But the dumpster kids they help a lot in my opinion. I think they're really the stars of this whole thing. They created Pop Tarts essentially. They created Rice Krispies as well, and they came with the primary concept behind creating all these things was combine what you have. You don't have to create anything new. You just combine what you have. So all of the inventions that were created in the testing facility, whether it's the ravioli, which they created a living ravioli in this, whether it's the hot pants from Jack LaLanne, or whatever you consider, they put all those together at a creation party, and they end up making um, the Pop Tart shape and design, as well as the container that it goes in. However, because they now have went to Miss El Sucre, they have a rig on the sugar. They bought all the sugar. Nobody else has access to the sugar. So post,
Oh,
yeah,
quick side note.
yep.
I stand corrected. There is milk in frosting.
Oh, see, I
Oh,
thought
you got owned, man.
booyah.
I got owned,
Yeah.
even though I corrected myself.
Pwned
Yes,
even. Yeah.
Oh, well, okay.
Yeah.
Well, pardon me.
that's right. That's right. Correct yourself. But so they did get the milk people involved, but that's not in this movie. That was just a thought that came about.
Mhm.
But like we said a minute ago, they end up going out to Russia post does so that they can try to get their hands on some sugar. Something I actually enjoyed about this movie, aside from Bill Burr playing Kennedy, I enjoyed Walter Cronkite. Walter Cronkite had a lot of character off air. He wasn't
Yeah.
just uh
Oh yeah. Honestly, everything goes by so quick. I couldn't really appreciate anybody's performances.
got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand.
I don't know. Bill Burr was fine. I don't really like Bill Burr that much, but that's okay. I think that he was fine as Jack Kennedy, but it's a totally unnecessary scene. There's no need for him to be in
I
it.
think they did that just for the Double Mint twins.
I think they just did it to fill it out. It's just like a lot of these scenes in this movie just feel like superfluous. They don't really move the story in any direction. It's just like, oh, my buddy Bill Burr wants to be a part of this, and so I'll throw a scene
Or
together
was
Oh,
it
for
just,
him.
or was it done as a favor?
Well,
Right.
yeah,
I'm about to say I think
that's
this was
what it
more
is.
of a definitely a buddy flick. Everybody is in this as a favor to Seinfeld because he
Yes.
is the King Lear of the group. Essentially, he is the top tier. And when Seinfeld calls you or has his people call you, you just say yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
I suppose that's
course.
how that works.
I mean, you see any actors or comedians that are older than Seinfeld in this movie?
Yeah.
Who? I think everybody in here would pretty much be his protege.
Um.
Yeah,
Was
probably.
it? Was it the? Oh, I guess he's not a comedian.
Who? Hugh Grant?
Yeah.
Nah, Hugh Grant's not a comedian, and I don't think he's older than Jerry Seinfeld.
You sure?
The real Hugh Grant, not the character he played.
Right.
But either way. Well, actually, there is somebody I just can't remember his name, but I remember the character. Either way, so we talk about the living ravioli, the Russian ships, and the Americans deciding that they're going to fire up on them, not because they have nuclear missiles, but it's all about the sugar. And the admin scene I thought was pretty good, aka the Mad Men scene. where they have the ad people come in and pitch to them the Gel Jolie, and they bring
Mhm.
in that doesn't really just go over because who's trying to sell sex at breakfast? Like that's just not a thing.
John Hamm. John Hamm is, of course, because
John Hamm is
it's a
definitely the
madman joke.
right.
Yeah.
Right, because in Mad Men everything was about selling sex. Because
Mhm.
sex sells, if we're being honest. Let's look at how we run things now. They definitely took over and did their thing.
And then he was super into Melissa McCarthy, of course. You know,
Yeah, at
'cause
the end.
That
that would
makes
happen.
sense.
That
That
makes
made
sense.
that, I mean, that was the most logical thing I could think of in this movie, if I'm being honest.
That absolutely made sense.
Yeah.
I mean, because shapely
No, no,
women
no,
was
no,
definitely a
Keelan.
thing in the
That
60s.
just makes sense. That just makes sense.
Stop going against the narrative.
You're right. I was about to make too much sense of that. You're absolutely right.
Yep, yep.
Um, but Mrs. Post and Mr. Kellogg, they even try to get together and make amends. Looks like they're gonna make whoopee in the office until she sees the living ravioli. The mutant ravioli, she then goes to tell the news about the mascot's riot. Cronkite reads,
Hold on. The mascot's January 6th.
yes, they January 6th. I actually have that right here in my notes, and I went
Mm-hmm.
totally over that by just saying they riot. But yeah, they definitely January 6th,
He
which I
definitely
think
had
is the
the
most modern.
horns on.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that was
that was,
yeah, it was an absolute direct reference to that.
I think even the people who were climbing up and fell.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
think that's probably the most up to date, relevant reference in this entire movie,
Yes.
and unnecessary. Funny, but
Yeah.
unnecessary.
It does end up feeling a little bit anachronistic, to be honest, because it is a modern reference in a movie filled with boomer references.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm. Even the Keebler cookies or Keebler bringing the fudge stripe cookies to the Five Families meeting. I thought that was funny, but that's because I love those cookies. I absolutely do. Those probably are my favorite Keebler product for sure.
Oh no, it's all about there was the peanut butter ones. What are the peanut butter ones? The grasshoppers? No, the
Oh,
grasshoppers are the mint ones. Those are good.
but I know which ones you're talking about. Yeah, the Keebler peanut butter cookies. They're almost
Yeah.
like Nutter Butter. Or is it
Yeah,
Nutter
dude.
Butter?
It's like a cookie coated in chocolate, but then has a peanut butter filling inside of it. Those things are like
Yeah,
fire. I
those
can't
are
remember what
amazing.
they're called.
It's not Nutter
Jesus.
Butter. You're right, because Nutter Butter is a Nabisco product. I'm trying to think of the name of those off the top of my
How do
head
you know that?
because I eat food. I'm a snacky man. What do you want from me?
I'm the fat one.
Just because you're fat
We're
doesn't
all
mean
fat
you
at heart, though. That's the thing,
right.
man. We're all fat
Your
at
size
heart.
has absolutely
Yeah.
nothing to do with my taste in snacks, sir. Oh, that
Oh
was funny.
man.
This one's
But
this that yeah, Mike is over here eating like miso soup every day, and we're
right,
all just talking about how our favorite Keebler cookies are what.
I wish
right.
I had some miso soup right now.
I know you do. I see you posting it all the time.
That's ramen.
I know ramen is good, but you had okay. So but to be fair, you had miso ramen just the other day, so that's what
Yeah,
I
that's
said.
true.
I'm like,
Oh,
I
and
saw that post. You can't deny it. You definitely
it
did that.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's the Keebler peanut butter filled fudge cookies.
Well,
Those
that's what
are
they were called.
oh man, they're so
That
good.
should you should never say peanut butter filled fudge anything.
I mean,
But
yeah,
oh man, we are going so left right now. This review is about to be inappropriate for kids. Um, the 1960s appropriate for kids. Um,
I don't have
yeah,
nothing to worry about.
we have the January 6th riots. Um, and oh, that's what it was. Butchie busts his head open basically to the white meat by hitting his head on the little, what was that, a butt massager that he had got stuck
yeah.
in?
Hmm.
Yeah, those things
And
were amazing.
I want one of those.
I'm too young to know.
I mean, it's just a circular wooden thing that has like divots on it, so that like you can sit and it just massages your butt. That looks dope. You know,
I guess. I mean, if you walk
you
around that much and you work,
you
you're a workoutaholic.
right. You know,
You got to get your glutes
you know, you,
massaged.
you know what I miss is those. At the theme parks they had those vibration plates that you'd sit and like put your feet on. Did you
Mm-hmm.
ever use those? They were like a quarter. Man, those
I
things are awesome.
Yeah, I remember those at like the Orange County Fair and stuff. Yeah,
Yes. Uh-huh. Yep. Yep.
I can't say I ever enjoyed it much, but I remember them.
Man.
I don't
You're
remember
not
anything
you're
that
not
cost.
living if you haven't done one of those. That's for sure.
Oh yeah, I've done it. I've done it. I can't say I enjoyed it as much. Maybe I didn't really know how to enjoy it, honestly.
Mm.
But yeah, I feel the same way about the contraption that they spin you in a circle and then you get stuck on the walls.
Yeah, the
Never
Gravitron.
understood.
Oh, the
Yeah,
centrifuge.
never understood the thrill of that. Got on them plenty of times. Never got sick like most people, but yeah. Um. Also, I think the only fair rides I'm really big on were the zippers.
Man, the
Pause.
zippers are so scary though. I don't know.
The zippers are scary, especially when you consider it took them about 30 minutes to put it together and it just traveled halfway across
Yes.
the country.
Yeah. Yeah, and they put you in a little cage and then they flip you around.
Look, they put you in a cage and then they lock it with one of those door sliders.
Yeah, exactly. And a carrot just for good measure.
And sometimes they forget to ask you to put on your seatbelt.
Yeah, they don't even check. You're just gonna, fall around in there and
No,
shake
they
out all the loose change you
all the
got.
loose change, right?
Yep. Hmm.
They expect that bar that comes off the gate to hold you down and keep you safe.
Yeah.
But yeah, Butchie comes up with the name Trap Pop by looking at the first letter of each of the things they have on the board. The FDA guy is forced to stamp the paper, and Walter Cronkite uses his silly putty to pull the ink off the paper, and instead of reading Trap Pop, he ends up reading it backwards, and that is the inception of the name Pop Tart, and it is
Mhm.
born. It is the greatest rectangular thing since the Ten Commandments, says Mr. Cabana, and that is when I said, "Whoa, well, all right, there, buddy, you came up with that." But yeah, from there, that's pretty much the movie. I mean, the whole movie is
Yeah.
like I said, it's clean cut. You watch the trailer, you already know what it's about. If you've heard the Jerry Seinfeld joke, you already know what it's about.
Yeah, the core
Um,
story of the movie is probably about 40 minutes long, and then you have another 45 minutes of extra scenes.
right. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd say about 42 minutes, and then yeah, probably another 40 to 50 minutes.
Yeah,
And
of
I
just
only
cameo scenes.
right.
Hey, I
I
thought
say
it was a knee
42
slapper
because
myself.
no, you don't. I say 42 because I enjoyed the Bill Burr scene.
I don't
That's
think
it,
you, sir.
and all the
Right.
Walter Cronkite scenes. Now let's keep in mind that the original name that Post came up with for the Pop Tart was the Country Square, and that
Mhm.
did not do well. I wonder why that did not do well. It's the Country Square. Why would that be
Yeah.
popular? Why would I don't? Why did they think that would work? I don't know.
I don't know why they thought the unfrosted Pop Tart would work. That is the worst one.
Well, the unfrosted Pop Tart was the inception. I think
I
it only worked
know,
because back then everything was so bland and they had the sugary filling with the fruit.
man. It's all the same flavor though.
It was all
It
goo.
was all the same
It's all
flavor.
goo. Oh, okay, okay. Well, before we get to our ratings of this movie, I have to ask you guys the most important question of the night, which is what is your favorite Pop Tart flavor?
Cinnamon.
Ooh, had this discussion.
Cinnamon.
Yep.
Okay, apple cinnamon.
No,
Apple
regular
cinnamon.
No,
cinnamon.
no, no. It's just the cinnamon one. Yeah.
For
Yeah.
me,
I
it's
like
apple cinnamon.
the cinnamon one, but I don't like the breading on the cinnamon.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I find the
I agree.
breading way too dense and sort of like chalky. But the frosting and the inside is very good. Very good. So Mike Cinnamon, Keelan.
Um, I want to say apple cinnamon,
They
but
don't have an apple cinnamon.
I think it was Dutch apple or something like that.
Oh yeah, but
But
that's unfrosted.
it is,
Yeah.
and that's why I have to say the real one would have to be the cherry. Have to be the
Oh,
cherry because, and we
blasphemy.
had this discussion because I had this discussion at after we watched the movie.
Mhm.
So the cherry one was very hard to find. You didn't always get that one. A lot of people just settled for strawberry. Now, for me, it comes down to a different question that's added to your question, Nick. Hot
Mhm.
or raw?
Nah, I don't even mess around with the toaster. Just raw is good.
And for
Definitely
me,
hot.
that's where it changes. So The unfrosted one, like the Dutch apple, I like that one because I like those warmed up. But
Mhm.
if we're doing the cherry or the frosted ones, I can do those unfrosted, no problem, straight out the pack. Throw it in my lunch pail. I grab it on the way. I eat that thing before I even get to school.
Do you one better? You throw it in the freezer for like 5 minutes. That's
I
pretty good.
never. You just made me want to go buy Pop Tarts and try that.
Yeah, yeah. You definitely got to try that one. And you know what? The best one to do that with is the sundae, the chocolate sundae. If you get the chocolate sundae Pop Tarts and then put them in the freezer for like 5 minutes, man,
As long
I
as
don't
you
know.
don't tell me you like the s'more Pop Tart.
Oh, I
Ugh.
was gonna say that's my favorite one. I love the
Is it really?
s'mores. Yeah,
Ugh.
it is. I love the.
Blasphemy.
I know. I know. It's actually trash. I get that, but there's something that I love about it. If I was just gonna go like classic, it would just be the strawberry.
Okay.
There's something great about the strawberry, but yes, a guilty pleasure is I do really enjoy the s'more Pop
The
Tart.
s'more.
And
Wow.
you know what's screwed up about the s'more Pop Tart? There's never enough frosting on those bitches. It's almost
Never enough.
all
I can
graham
agree with that.
cracker.
Yep. I can fully agree with that.
Yeah.
Well, some of the last moments of this movie. Well, so wait, let's recap that. So Nick's favorite is the s'more, but you said as a consolation you would choose the strawberry.
Yeah, I
Good,
would go
good old
classic.
original Betsy.
Mm-hmm.
For me, Dutch apple if it's unfrosted, cherry if it is frosted, which means you got to look for it. And also, I always feel like cherry had the most sprinkles too. Let's keep that clear.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and Mike, you said yours was the
Cinnamon.
apple cinnamon.
Cinnamon.
That's
Just
the
Oh,
the
yeah,
only
cinnamon.
that's the only Pop Tart I ever liked.
Fair enough. Fair.
I
As I
never
got
liked
older,
any of
Pop
the other
Tarts.
ones.
Right.
yeah, the inside of the cinnamon is peak. Honestly, it's
True.
very good.
You scoop that thing out. You just eat it with your
Yeah,
fingers.
the goo.
The goo. The goo is where it's at, ladies and
It
gentlemen.
is. It
The
really
goo.
is.
And let's be clear. Here we are. They say it was created what in like 1964, 1967, and here we are, 2024. Grown men still reminiscing about how delicious that goo was. So the goo is definitely where it was and
Mhm.
where it's at. But let's keep in mind some things that we learned at the end of the movie about the characters. One very true fact. Mar-Largo, although owned by a particular orange-haired gentleman in the real world, was originally created by Mrs. Post, the same lady who originally created the Pop Tart. So this
Is that
lady was just kind of
historically
all over the
accurate?
place. According to the movie, it's actually true. It's the only thing that they say that actually is an actual fact.
Okay.
And I don't know.
Yeah.
I didn't Google it. We should have Googled it. I should have. We
Most of the
have
movie
Google
was
right here at our fingertips,
pretty
and here I am not even looking these things up.
yeah. Most of the movie for me was pretty uneventful, so I didn't care enough to even notice that. And that
You,
only came to mind when you mentioned it again.
no, I get it. You didn't care that Dana Stankowski invented granola. You didn't care about that.
Is that a real question?
Yes, you didn't care that Bob got sod. He finally got rid of his grass and got sod, ladies and gentlemen, sod. Nick
I
doesn't
don't
know the
know.
impression of
I
sod
can't
though.
trust you guys. You guys gave Late Night with the Devil an 8. So I don't
Hey,
know.
hey,
I don't know what's
hey,
going on
listen.
here.
Hey, listen.
Oh,
It's not
is
our
that where
fault.
we're
It's not
going?
our fault.
Yes, that's where we're going. Because
It's a good movie.
I can already feel the 4 from Mike. And I'm thinking to myself, how is it that Late Night and the Devil is twice as good as this movie? I don't know. I don't know.
Because this
Oh
one was
man,
supposed
so
to be
many
funny.
layers. And like
Okay.
so many layers to why Late Night with the Devil is twice as good as this movie. But let's keep in mind, Nick, Late Night with the Devil got a lot of credit for being an indie flick.
Yeah, I suppose. Fair enough.
And this was
Um,
supposed to be funny.
right. And I mean, this even had Jack LaLanne in it, and it still wasn't good.
Right. They should have gave him the eyebrows.
That was bait. You took it. This
They
movie was
should
Yeah,
have gave him the
see?
amazing.
eyebrows.
Told you.
This movie was excellent.
All right. Well, it looks like we need to get to our numbers here so we can out this. We can have this out and see where everybody's senses lie. All right.
I was gonna. Never mind. I don't
What
think
were
that'll be
you?
appropriate joke. Nothing.
Okay.
Thank you for not doing it.
Yeah.
I'll do it off of air. So yes, Nick makes an excellent point. We've drugged this out long enough. If I'm being honest, this movie definitely did not need this much of a rant or a barrier. This could have been about 20 minutes shorter, just like the movie. Um, the numbers on this, the final thoughts. I'll start with my final thoughts and my numbers. My final thoughts, again, I didn't hate this movie. I actually rather enjoyed it for to a level, but again, it reminded me as if I was watching 2 or 3 episodes of a TV show that I'm just trying to get through because I started. Um, I didn't dislike it. I like Seinfeld comedy, type level comedy. But this was more of a story that you tell while sitting around with the boys with nothing else to do. Like, hey, so I heard about Pop Tarts back in the day that this is what happened. And this is that long drawn out story right here in front of us, visually played out. Lots of great cameos. I don't really know what else to compliment or even denigrate about this movie. So from there, I will give it, Nick called it a 4.5, 5.
Yep.
Wow, and you liked it.
I did. I did. I'm just not. I really don't know where to gauge it as far as ratings. Like if I rate it as a comedy, it's even lower than that. If I rate it as a documentary, it's probably about what I gave it. If I rate it as just, well, I like the people that are in it, I guess I can give it a 5, 5. But I think anything above that, I'd have to validate, and I don't know how.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I'm right there with you, Keelan. I'm giving this a 5. I think it's fine. It's not a terrible movie, but again, it's one of these omnibus cameo movies where to me, it feels like it's only getting the points because of how many people are crammed into this thing. The story is okay. It's got some funny moments. I did chuckle a couple times, so I think people would be pleasantly surprised with that. But the stakes are non-existent. It's not really doing much. It just seems like a reason for actors to get together and have a fun time. So that's not a
Yeah.
bad thing. If you're into that, then go for it. But if you're looking for any better substance or deeper substance, I don't know if you're going to get it from this one. So it's a 5. I didn't hate it, but I won't watch it again.
For the most, you know what? I want to say this. Your final thoughts, Nick, just made me realize where I placed this. This movie would have been a great stage play. It's like
Yeah.
The Producers. Remember that stage play turned movie?
You mean
Yes.
the one that stars the guy from Seinfeld in it?
Yes, Jason Alexander.
There you go. That's his name.
Yeah, it was Jason Alexander and Martin Short, I believe. The play, which I saw in person.
No, the
stage-
producers is Nathan Fillion, I think.
Was it Nathan? Okay, well, I don't remember, but
Yeah.
I think Jason Alexander is in it though, isn't he?
I believe so.
No, he's in the movie, I think, not the stage play.
Oh, okay. Yeah, maybe that's
Yeah, he's
probably
in
it.
the movie. But my point is, I remember seeing the producers on stage, and I was like, "Wow, this is good." And then I remember seeing the movie when it came out, and I was like, "Huh, they didn't need to do that."
Well, the old movie was with Gene Wilder.
I don't think I
But
ever seen
then
the
there
Gene
was
Wilder
a
version of it.
yeah. Then there's the new movie with Matthew Broderick and Nathan Fillion and Uma Thurman in it.
Yeah. So yeah, I think it plays out like that. And if they gave this movie a little more elements of it being, theatrical and not just like Nick alluded to, just a bunch of people having fun. And they had you listen, if it's one thing that conveyed in this movie, they had a lot of fun on set and it made you want to enjoy it more. That's where you get the warm vibe from in this movie is they're clearly having fun and enjoying what they're doing. But yeah, I'm standing on that 5.
All right, Mike, hit us with it.
I give it a 4.
Okay.
I didn't because it didn't make me laugh much at all. It amused me a little bit. It was like I'm not a fan of Seinfeld. He has moments where he is absolutely hilarious. I'll give him that. But this was just one of those times where I was just like, eh.
Was this better than a B movie? Is what you need to ask yourself.
No, I think I would have rather watched a B movie.
Okay. I mean, I'm not talking about like a B list movie.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
The B movie.
Yeah.
Okay. You
I
like
think I would have
jazz?
rather watched it
Yeah.
again.
All right, fair enough. Well, that
Dude, if
puts
I
us at
watch
like
this
I
versus
believe
the
at a
Demon,
4.7.
yeah, somewhere around there.
Sorry, Keelan.
No, no. Hey, listen. Like I said, I wanted this movie to give more from what I saw. When I saw the trailer, I immediately was like, "Oh, this is gonna be amazing." And then I saw it, and it was like, "That was good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was good." Peter Dinklage was hilarious.
Was he?
Send him down the aisle. He's a family man, sir. One of the few moments I actually laughed. Yeah, no. Like I said, there
I
are
can always
moments from
find the
this.
Dink humorous, but I just okay.
It's his
I think
facial
he's
expressions mostly.
overused.
Yeah,
I think he's overused.
That is a fair point.
as a comedic.
Trope.
Yeah, as an actor, period. I think that like he just gets all the work now. I'm sure there are other little people that would like to work in Hollywood.
You think he's the
That's
new
not,
Vern Troyer?
Maybe.
he's
Well,
dead.
yeah, Vern Troyer didn't even. He had
Yes,
one
rest in peace,
movie.
Vern
That was
Troyer.
it.
No, he was in quite a few things.
He died. You know that, right?
Yes, he did. Yes, yes. I said
Oh,
rest
I
in
think
peace,
you're
Vern
thinking
Troyer.
of that other guy, the guy in Willow.
Willow.
Yeah.
What's Willow?
Hmm.
All right.
You
I'll
must
stop.
let go.
I'm sorry.
You must let go.
But no. My point and your point and Mike's point is this movie could have been better, or at least we expected it to be better, apparently, as a collective. But it is where it is, and it stands where it stands. I don't think a 4.6 is absolutely terrible for this particular movie. I think it could be rated lower by some who don't get the stance or the jokes. But with that being said, again, we stand at about a 4.6, 4.7, and it is what it is. We've already set it in stone. We've already rated it. Would I have liked it to be better? Sure. Well, I'm sure Seinfeld had liked us to have a better opinion of it. Sure. I wonder if this is his directorial debut. That I do not know.
I don't know that either, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But from a film stance, I don't think any of us have any real critique as far as the cinematic aspect of this.
No.
Or anything of that nature.
No,
I mean,
it's aesthetically nice to look at.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, with that being said, I mean, hey, there's nearly not much to say except we appreciate you guys for hanging out here with us and giving you this here review of Unfrosted. Go ahead and check Unfrosted out. I don't think it's something that you'll dislike, but I think you only get one good watch out of it, and that's just where it lies and where it stands. It's kind of like certain Pop Tarts. Not all of them are you going to revisit, but you find the right one for you, and you will definitely purchase more than one box.
Yikes.
But yeah, I mean, hey, you might learn a little bit because, like I said, most of this is somewhat factual. We appreciate you guys. Thanks for hanging out. We'll be right here with you again on Sunday to give you another review. I'm not sure whose turn it is. Might be mine's again. Who knows? Might be like punishment for
It's
choosing
Nick's
something that
turn.
nobody enjoyed.
We have to.
Yeah.
We have to abuse Nick next.
Yeah.
Fair
I gotta
enough.
pick the next mediocre movie that we watch.
Hey,
See,
that's how we
funniest
do
joke of the whole show.
Yeah.
it. But yeah, we appreciate you guys. And for the Screen Time Continuum, my name is Keelan.
I'm Nick.
And I might.
And we hope you at least stuck around to hear us riff and banter.
Stay
Have a great one,
frosted.
guys.
Wow.
Not in that voice. Wow.